The heart of the city, the sun was just beginning to set, casting long shadows across the bustling streets of downtown Chicago. The city was alive, a symphony of honking horns, distant laughter, and the occasional hum of a street musician strumming a guitar. It was Friday evening, and people rushed home, eager to shake off the week's wait. In the heart of the city, amidst skyscrapers that seemed to scrape the heavens, lived a man named Marcus. Marcus wasn't extraordinary by society's standards, he was a mechanic at a local auto shop. But to those who knew him, Marcus was a modern-day magician. With grease-streaked hands and a knack for fixing anything on wheels, he had earned the nickname the Doctor of Steel. On this particular evening, as Marcus locked up the shop, his phone buzzed. It was from a neighborhood chat group. The message read, "Urgent. Elderly man stranded on the freeway. Medical emergency. Ambulance delayed due to traffic." Marcus didn't think twice. He sprinted to his latest project, a souped-up bike he'd been working on for months. It wasn't just any bike, this was a prototype outfitted with emergency medical supplies, a GPS system, and enough power to rival a motorcycle. He had dreamed of launching it someday to help the city's underserved. Today, that dream would be tested. With the engine roaring to life, Marcus zipped through the crowded streets. The bike weaved effortlessly between cars, taking shortcuts through alleys and over sidewalks. His heart raced as he followed the GPS coordinates to the freeway. When he arrived, the sight was heartbreaking. An older man, Mr. Howard, a retired teacher, was slumped against his car door, clutching his chest. His granddaughter, no older than 10, stood nearby, waving frantically for help. "Hang tight," Marcus called as he pulled over. He grabbed the bike's compact medical kit, something he'd carefully designed with input from paramedics. "Mr. Howard, can you hear me?" Marcus asked, kneeling beside him. The man nodded weakly, sweat dripping down his pale face. Marcus quickly assessed the situation, classic signs of a heart attack. From the bike's kit, he retrieved aspirin and a portable oxygen device. He administered first aid, talking calmly to reassure both Mr. Howard and the terrified little girl. Within minutes, the color began returning to Mr. Howard's face. By the time the ambulance arrived, he was stable enough to be transported to the hospital. The paramedics were impressed. "You probably saved his life," one of them said, shaking Marcus's hand, but Marcus didn't stay for the accolades. As Mr. Howard was loaded into the ambulance, the little girl ran up to Marcus and hugged him tightly. "Thank you," she whispered. Riding back into the city, Marcus felt something he hadn't felt in years, a deep sense of purpose. This wasn't just a test run for the bike, it was a glimpse of what it could mean for the community. By the next morning, word of Marcus's heroic act had spread. Local news stations picked up the story, dubbing his invention the Lifeline Bike. Calls started pouring into the shop, not for car repairs, but from people wanting to support his mission. Some offered donations, others volunteered their time. In the months that followed, Marcus's dream grew into a movement. He partnered with healthcare providers, training volunteers to operate more bikes equipped with medical supplies. Soon, the streets of Chicago weren't just filled with cars and buses, they were also home to a fleet of Lifeline bikes, each one a beacon of hope in the chaos of the city. And every time Marcus rode past the skyscrapers, hearing the hum of the city he loved, he couldn't help but smile. He wasn't just a mechanic anymore. He was proof that even in the busiest, loudest corners of the world, one person could still make all the difference. Moral of the story: even in the busiest and most chaotic corners of the world, one person's compassion and ingenuity can create ripples of change. Small acts of kindness, combined with innovative thinking, have the power to transform lives and inspire a community. True heroism lies in using your unique skills to help others when they need it most.